Connor. Good morning. This is convening of the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. Today is Monday, May 5th, 2025. It's approximately 10:06 a.m. On this Monday meeting. It's number 553. I'm Jordan Maynard. I'm serving as chair. We're holding this meeting virtually, so I will do a roll call. Good morning, Commissioner O'Brien.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning, Commissioner Hill.
I'm here.
Who's joining from my office. Good morning, Commissioner Skinner.
Good morning.
And good morning, Commissioner Broder.
Good morning, I am here.
All right. So we typically have our meetings on Thursday, as everyone knows, but it's a rainy Monday morning here where we're rooting for the Celtics to continue their march towards hopefully a second championship. Who knows? But that said, we're going to turn it over to Secretary Skinner.
Okay, good morning again, Mr. Chairman and my fellow commissioners. I move that the commission approve the minutes from the January 13th, 2023 meeting that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. All right, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill. Aye. Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Abstain?
And I'm yes, so 4 and 1 abstention.
I further move that the commission approve the minutes from the September 18th, 2024 meeting that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or other non-material matters.
Second.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Aye.
And I abstain on this one. Actually,
What's the date on this?
September 18th, Commissioner Broder.
I think this might have predated Commissioner.
My bad. I would abstain.
All right, and I abstain. So that is 3 ayes and 2 abstention.
I further move that the commission approve the minutes from the April 3rd, 2025 and April 10th, 2025 meetings that are included in our packet, subject to any necessary corrections for typographical errors or the non-material matters.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill. Aye. Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
Commissioner Broder.
Aye.
And I vote yes, 5-0. All right. Thank you, Secretary Skinner. I know this was an undertaking and it was going back in time, and we appreciate it. And the legal team, as always. Commissioner Hill, legislative update?
No update today, thank you.
Okay, we have no update on that front. All right, let's now turn it over to ED Serpa. Good morning, ED Serpa.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning, commissioners. I do have an update for us this morning, administrative update, and it's a really good one. So commissioners, today we get to talk about one of the departments at the Gaming Commission that we probably don't speak about frequently enough, and that is the Gaming Enforcement Unit and the Massachusetts State Troopers who work in the GEU and perform our investigatory and on-site functions at the 3 casinos. So commissioners, last week on Thursday, May 1st, our Springfield Gaming Enforcement Unit was recognized by the Colonel of the Massachusetts State Police at a ceremony at State Police headquarters in Framingham, where they received the Superintendent's Unit Citation for their exceptional contribution to the Massachusetts State Police. I won't read the citation in full, but I'll call out some highlights. The commendation states that members of the Massachusetts State Police assigned to the Gaming Enforcement Unit support the unique public safety needs of the areas in and around the MGM Springfield Casino. They work in conjunction with colleagues from the Springfield Police Department and the Investigations and Enforcement Bureau within the Massachusetts Gaming Commission. The unit has navigated many challenges using their training, skill, and quick thinking. Each member has performed exceptionally well in this high-volume, fast-paced environment. For their teamwork, dedication, and contributions to the community, the Gaming Enforcement Unit in Springfield is hereby commended in personnel orders and awarded the Massachusetts State Police Superintendent's Unit Citation. So commissioners, I think we all know that the work performed by the entire GEU, be it at MGM or Encore or PPC, is extremely important and involves complex issues, and in some situations can even be hazardous. So as an agency, I think we're lucky to work alongside the state police troopers, who in my experience are some of the most capable and professional and supportive individuals to call a colleague. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of all of the MGC staff, and congratulations to the entire GEU team and the Springfield unit for their accommodation. Thank them for their important work to the agency. I believe Detective Lieutenant Leo is on the screen with us, and Lieutenant Mackey. And that is the update that I wanted to provide.
That's a fantastic update, Edie Serpa. And with that, I want to welcome my fellow commissioners to weigh in here. I'm sure they'll want to.
Just a big congrats to the GEU, not just our Springfield force, but the entire GEU, as Edie Serpa just mentioned. I am not surprised. We work with a fantastic group of law enforcement folks, and ever appreciative of all of the work you do, putting yourselves really in harm's way, right on the front lines every single day. And we appreciate you. And I don't even have to say keep up the good work, because it's just part of your presentation. But so again, congratulations to you. Job well done. Really proud of you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Skinner. Who's next?
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll go. I'll be brief. The nice thing about this award is certainly, we see the work, we see it every day, but to have peer recognition like that, to see the leadership of the state police recognizing the value of the GEU and Springfield in particular in this case, is real special recognition. The public isn't gonna see so much what the GEU does, but it's important to Safe Gaming in Massachusetts, and they've done an outstanding job. And it is great to see leadership within the state police in particular recognize their good work.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, I see your mute's off.
Yeah, to echo what's already been said, the other thing that's great about the commendation is that, GEU, there's a lot of challenges with the casino, the garage, the urban environments. There's also a jurisdictional challenge, right, that they have to deal with in terms of who ultimately carries any cases criminally that come out of there. And, having been a prosecutor, I know sometimes these commendations are a result of prosecutors kind of going to HQ and singing their praises, and they don't necessarily have a consistent advocate in that regard. And so I can only assume this came from the fact that there was uniformity across the board in terms of who handled the cases at the end of the day, singing the praises of the Springfield unit. So my congratulations, my thanks. I'm sure you will keep going as you have been, but great to see you guys recognized like this.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Anything to add?
I'll say ditto, and just congratulations. Every time I get to go out to Springfield and meet the crew out there, I mean, it's top notch, and to be recognized is something that we're all very proud of you for. So congratulations on a job well done.
And I will add in, I apologize for that microphone issue there. That's on me. It's no easy work that you do, Mr. Mackey and your team, and we appreciate it. It's, as you heard from all of us today, we're very proud of the GEU and the work that is done at the GEU to keep everyone safe. So that's all I have to add. Anything you'd like to say or anything else to be said?
No, we appreciate it. I'll pass on the kind words to the troops. They work very, very hard in a really challenging environment, as I know you all are aware, and we appreciate that, the recognition from the Colonel and obviously the Commission as well. I know we report up and we've received nothing but, you know, just amazing support throughout the time, and we anticipate that continuing. So we appreciate it, and we're glad to be here.
Thank you. And thank you, Edie Serpa, for bringing this forward. I appreciate that. All right. With that, we're going to turn it to item number 5, Chief of Sports Wagering, Carrie Teresi. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. I'm going to turn it right over to Compliance and Operations Manager Stefan.
Thank you, Carrie. Good morning, Commissioners. We'll begin on page 28 of your packet. Just to provide a little background before we get started, during the December 11th, 2024 agenda setting meeting, the Sports Wagering Division was asked to look into strengthening the Russian and Belarusian prohibitions language within section 11 of the event catalog, specifically as it pertains to the mention of representing or promoting either of those two prohibited countries. Going back a little further, since the initial publication of the event catalog in early 2023, the Commission voted to prohibit sports wagering operators from offering wagers on any event or league overseen by a Russian or Belarusian governing body or a body headquartered in Russia or Belarus. The catalog further states that no wager shall be offered or accepted on any athlete competing on any team in an event authorized in the catalog if the individual or team is known to represent Russia or Belarus. And again, that's what we'll focus on today, the representing and promoting language. Our event catalog currently offers 2 examples of understanding, and you can see those listed in the middle of page 29 in the packet. The first example talks about a Russian-born fighter competing in a match in England, not known to represent Russia. However, if the fighter engages in any activity that promotes Russia while walking out to the ring, wagers are still valid. However, any wagers on that fighter in a future match would be prohibited. The second example talks about Russia competing in the World Cup in a match against France. And while wagers on the French team and its players would be allowed, however, any wagers on the Russian team itself or its players would be prohibited. Again, this is the initial language from 2023 that has gone unchanged for the last 2 years. And while this language has worked, it could certainly be further clarified to provide more explanation and guidance to our sports wagering operators. And to go over those expanded examples, I'll turn it over to Compliance Officer David Harrison, who has done some extensive research for us on this project. Dave?
Yep, thank you, Andrew. So the following examples, can you guys hear me? Is my mic working?
We hear you.
Great, just wanted to double check there. So good morning to everyone. And so as Andrew said, the following examples of understanding were expanded to help provide further clarification and guidance. And it is worth noting that unless otherwise specified, references to voiding wagers shall apply to wagers that have not yet been settled, so pre-event or pre-result wagers. So now to jump into the examples, number 1, the wagers may be accepted on a Russian or Belarusian fighter if they are not known to represent or promote Russia or Belarus. If they are found prior to the event to promote or represent Russia or Belarus, wagers shall not be accepted. Number 2, wagers on a Russian or Belarusian fighter may be accepted if the fighter is competing in a match in England. However, if the fighter is found to promote or represent Russia or Belarus, wagers may be accepted, but no future wagers shall be accepted on this fighter. Number 3, if a Russian or Belarusian team is competing in the FIFA World Cup, wagers may be accepted on the event, but not the Russian or Belarusian team itself. And wagers may also be accepted and placed on the opponent, for example, Argentina or Spain. Number 4, wagers may be accepted on their opponent and on the event itself, but not on a Russian or Belarusian fighter. So again, for example, a wager may be accepted on an American opponent. Number 5, if a Russian or Belarusian club soccer team is participating in a European tournament, wagers may not be accepted on the Russian or Belarusian club team, but may be accepted on the opposing team. And number 6, wagers may be accepted on a Russian or Belarusian individual soccer player if that player is not known to represent or promote these countries. If found to promote or represent Russia or Belarus, all wagers must be voided and no future wagers on this player shall be permitted. So that concludes the examples of understanding. And it's worth noting that the Sports Wagering Division continues to conduct routine research into the participants that may fall within this category of prohibited wagers. And we also remain in regular communication with our sports wagering operators who are also conducting ongoing research and review on this topic. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And commissioners, just to add on to Dave's examples, some of the language that we did input into the event catalog here, the proposed revisions on the promoting or presenting is such as actively displaying the Russian or Belarusian flag on the fighter's gear, holding or wearing the Russian or Belarusian flag leading into or in the ring, or holding or wearing the Russian or Belarusian flag during post-fight interviews. Those are all can be found throughout the examples as examples of promoting or representing the country. And just to add on to Dave's point, in addition to working with our sports wagering operators on this review, we've also established several contacts with the leagues and governing bodies, many of these contacts which were provided by our operators. So we view this collaboration as a very good working relationship between all parties involved. And then one final and crucial note here, commissioners, this is not a rules change. We're not proposing any changes to the prohibition of these two countries, but rather just providing additional clarification and guidance to our operators to ensure full compliance. So to wrap up here, we have identified at least 3 options we could go with today. The first option is to maintain the current event catalog, make no changes to the examples, and continue with the current guidance as is. Another option is to revise the event catalog with the proposed examples and clarification. If approved, we would distribute the updated catalog to our operators and identify the changes for them, somewhat like a red line format. And then lastly, we could draft additional examples based on any feedback today and present again for future consideration. So with that, Chair, I'll turn it back over to you. We'd be happy to help answer any questions the commissioners may have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Mr. Harrison, for presenting that today. We appreciated it. Commissioners, anything to add?
So, yeah, I have a thought, but I don't know, Andrew, to your point, whether this means a rules change or not, which is the level of subjectivity that might go into some of this and or the work that might go in. Should there be a default that individual Russian and Belarusian athletes are not, they are prohibited unless they fall in? Is there a presumption that you cannot bet unless it's been determined that they do not, in fact, represent or promote?
Yep, yeah, that's the current guidance, that any wagers are accepted on the athletes, on those individual athletes only, if they are not known to represent or promote either the two countries. Wagers
There's
are
a
not.
there's a presumption of prohibition that can be overcome. Is that the interpretation? And that was my memory of when we did it. And so I'm just trying to make sure I've got the correct understanding in terms of implementation on the ground.
Yes, there's a presumption that you can wager on those players prior to them representing or promoting the countries. Yes.
Okay, no, so my understanding is there was a presumption that they were prohibited unless they fell within the exemption. So that's sort of the slight difference in my memory, or what I would like to see, as opposed to a presumption that they are allowable.
Sure.
Unless you find some reason to prohibit them.
So then the current guidance is the opposite, that wagers are allowed on these participants prior to them promoting and representing. If it's known that they promoted or represented one of the two countries after the fact, then all wagers on them would be disallowed.
But can I ask a clarifying question though, that I think may help me too on this, because I'm with Commissioner O'Brien. We're talking about, we're going down a level for folks that we don't know, right? I mean, this is a classic example where we made a rule and now we're actually having to interpret the rule on the ground. If it's very, very clear, right? The presumption is exactly what you said, Commissioner O'Brien. If it's clear, we're talking about a situation where someone, the operators have taken bets on someone, no one knows, and then they walk out with the flag, or they make some statement or something like that. And so that's where we're talking about the presumption And are you like, would we want to flip that presumption? I mean, it's hard to flip a presumption if you don't know what the person represents at that exact moment, I guess is what I'm.
Well, that's what I was thinking. The presumption was if that's the nationality represented by the individual athlete, then the bet was prohibited unless, there was some sort of showing of sort of neutrality almost.
But I think that is it, if we know for sure, right?
Can I ask, sorry, just a clarifying question. We would be asking for operators to prove a negative, I guess, through the sports wagering authorities, the leagues. And so what would we be looking for them to present in that regard? That just trying to help me understand. I don't know if anyone has an answer to that. Maybe there's no answer. I just think it would be, it would be difficult in order to prove that negative. But for me, this goes far enough in terms of clarifying. I don't see the harm in reinforcing the language that's already there. In fact, we got a request to clarify. I don't know if it was so much as a request to clarify, but it was just an indication that it wasn't as clear as it probably should be. And so I thank the Sports Wagering Division for reviewing this and coming back with some clearer examples as to when the wager is prohibited and when it must be voided. I think all of the examples put forward make sense. I just don't know if we are going to revert, right, such that there's a presumption that those wagers are not allowed, how we would do that and what our sports wagering team would need to look for in order to give a response to the sports wagering operator when they're inquiring as to whether or not they can move forward in the market.
Can I just add one thing? I think my understanding of this prohibition, and perhaps this was incorrect, is that for teams, club teams, national teams, anything like that, where those athletes are, it's clear, right, that that's the country that they're from. It is prohibited. That's the presumption. I think the sticky area that we're talking about here is largely with fighting events, unarmed combat events, where it's an individual athlete, and they may have been born in one of those countries, but they're not fighting on behalf of that country. And we don't sort of have any evidence that they've been known to represent or promote that country. And so the way we have been applying it is that wagering would be allowed on those individuals unless we have evidence that they have promoted or represented that country.
So could I ask why the sort of freebie, right? Like if they walk out draping themselves in a flag that's Z, right? Or some sort of pro-war sentiment, why not just void the wager? Why not just say that up through and including the event, you'd have to just void at that point?
I think that was our interpretation, Commissioner O'Brien.
But this is saying if they do it up through that event is fine, but you would ban them after that. Like, why not just say that in that circumstance that while it may have been okay to take the wager up to the event, if they exhibit it during the event, then void it.
Commissioner O'Brien, that's an excellent point, and it's a point that I raised last week when I saw the memo. I understood that the memo had been revised to address that very scenario, such that the wager must be voided if prior to the event they were promoting.
I'm talking about inclusive of the event. Like if they walk in draped in a flag with like Z or something to the insignia of Russian victory, why not say that runs afoul of the prohibition and the bets would be voided at that point?
Yeah, again, my understanding is that it is, and I think where the difference might be is pre-settlement, post-settlement, and so it's my understanding that where the wager hadn't been settled, and granted, I didn't read the memo after I raised this with the Sports Wagering Division because I understood that the changes would be made, but where the promotion happens before the wagers have been settled, that is when those wagers must be voided.
So yeah, because what the example I'm looking at is basically if the promotional activity occurs sort of walking into the ring, that wager is going to stand as written. I'm saying I don't see why it's not just voided, if possible. I mean, like if it hasn't even started yet and they're doing it, then they should void.
Yeah, I agree with you. What number are you looking at? What example?
Unless I've got an outdated version. I'm example number 1 on the second page of the memo.
So commissioners, the very top of the examples of understanding the proposed language talks about unless otherwise specified, references to voiding wagers apply to only wagers that have not yet been settled. So pre-event and even pre-result. So what we can do is go back and edit the examples that talk about, Commissioner O'Brien, as you stated, letting those wagers stand if they're walking out into the ring. Future wagers would be disallowed. So what we can do is just take that language out of those examples and just call back to that that statement above example number 1, stating that any wagers pre-event or pre-result should be voided or canceled if they're known to represent or promote those two countries.
Right, because that would deal if they walk in sort of into the event.
Yeah, I agree with that. My feedback, Commissioner O'Brien, to the sports wagering division was exactly the same as yours.
And can I frame a little bit of this conversation too? I think that's exactly what happened that led the letter that I believe you, Commissioner Skinner, got. And what exactly happened is exactly what we're talking about. They did, Chief Teresi and her team did actually void the wagers and they had to undo it. Am I correct on that, Carrie?
That's right, yes.
Yeah, so we're going to do it that way. If we can add an example or change an example to Commissioner O'Brien's point, would that get us where we need to get today on this?
Yeah, we can certainly clarify. So to make sure I'm understanding that we want to make sure that there's language that includes a scenario where the fighter hasn't been known to represent or promote before the fight and wagering has been allowed, but at the fight, for example, they walk out wrapped in the flag, then wagers on that particular fight would need to be voided.
Correct.
Yeah, I think our understanding of that is the same, and perhaps we just need to clarify the language a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to offer a motion if we are all set with discussion.
Let me just make sure Commissioner Broder and Commissioner.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm okay with what's been discussed here today and go with option number 2 with the clarification that Commissioner O'Brien and Commissioner Skinner have brought to our attention. I'm okay with that.
All right, so I think we'll add those examples in. This is what we're going to do. Commissioner Broder? So
No, I'm good. I think it's it's very challenging to.
I
Can't hear me?
can hear you now. That was on me.
Oh, all right. Yeah. I'm fine. I would echo everyone else's comments. I do think it's very challenging for us to, play in the foreign policy space, and we're the challenges I've seen, but I very much appreciate the work of sports wagering to get us where we need to go. It is about the clarity and the predictability, right? And this, I do think this will help.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission amend the official catalog of events and wagers to include the proposed examples and clarifications on Russian and Belarusian prohibitions as included in the commissioner's packet and specifically discussed here today relative to the amendments requested in the examples.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Brien.
Aye.
Commissioner Hill. Aye. Commissioner Skinner
Aye.
and Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
All right. 5-0. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, David. It was, we appreciate it.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
We are now to item number 6. And for that, we will turn it over to Chief Delaney.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Before we jump into the Community Mitigation Fund budget update, I was hoping you could indulge me for just a minute. So this will be Lily Wallace's last commission meeting with the commission. Lily's moving on from here, and I wanted to just take this opportunity to thank her for all the work that she's put in for the Community Affairs Division over the last 3.5 years. Hard to believe it's been that long, because time does certainly fly. You know, when she started with us 3.5 years ago, she jumped right in and immediately became an integral part of our community affairs team. A particular note is she really grabbed on and worked really hard with our IT department to get our database up to speed. It was had some difficulties at that time, and Lily was really integral in working with them to get that operational, and I thank her for that as well. But overall, you know, Lily's been a valuable member of our team, and I certainly wish her well in her future endeavors. And I know she will certainly be missed. And so thank you, Lily.
I echo those sentiments, Chief Delaney. And good luck as you move forward, Lily. We wish you the best. Commissioner O'Brien.
Yeah, so good luck, Lily. I hope I get to physically cross paths with you before you head off to the other agency. And I'm going to miss sort of your quick response to the information that you get. I always appreciate how quickly and succinctly you can tell me what I don't know based on your experience in government. And I'm also going to miss your costumes, etc., on the dress-up days. I very much appreciate being on the receiving end of some of them, and I will. I still have the picture of the last one that you did, so I appreciate it, and it's always going to give me a chuckle. So good luck.
The ugly sweater, the ugly Christmas sweater is my favorite. Lily, just want to say congratulations to you. We haven't worked together that long, but I've come to be very fond of you. It's always nice seeing your face. You're like a ray of sunshine. I distinctly remember Joe being on vacation at one point, and you were put in charge to present some of the applications to us. And so that was always, or maybe it wasn't a public meeting, maybe it was during the 2x2, I don't know. But I remember thinking, move over, Joe, watch out. But I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Commissioner Broder, Commissioner Hills.
I just want to say congratulations, Lily. As an alumni of the State House, it's always great to see those folks move up and up and up in the government. And you've done such a great job here. And every one of us has been able to use you and your experience in this department to get us through not only our 2x2s, but the public meetings. Your help has been invaluable to all of us, and you are going to be missed here. And we wish you the very best.
Thank you. Commissioner Broder.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hills kind of stole my line. It is like him. It's great to see folks, particularly folks that start out as a legislative aide in their state service, stick with the program and grow and continue to be public servants. And I know that is part of the plan for the future. We certainly have the benefit of your passion and your expertise, and glad that you're still going to be serving the residents of the Commonwealth.
All right, Joe.
Okay, well, thank you. Lily, anything to add?
No, just thank you all for the time here, all the good years.
All right, so we will jump right in onto the Community Mitigation Fund budget update. I apologize, I did send you a very last minute update to the memo. I realized there was a typo in there. It was just $1 million, just nothing big. But anyways, and I know Commissioner Hill introduced you to this subject a week and a half or so ago, on the once the House Ways and Means budget came out. So considering that,
right now, so back when we finished up our grant round last year, Derek calculated how much money was available in the Community Mitigation Fund going forward. He did take out monies for administrative purposes. So the calculation he did was the amount that's really available for projects, which is $27,820,000. So, in looking at the current year, the total ask was $24,772,000. So only about a $3 million difference between the amount that's available. And of that amount, we estimated originally we'd be putting out about 19.2 million. So there's been over 5.5 million in waivers requested for this year. So what we looked at is saying, well, let's assuming that no additional money gets put into this program, where do we go? And as we looked at it, there's three sort of major options. I suppose you could look at any combination of them, really. But the first one that we looked at was trying to spend down as much of the current budget as possible during the current fiscal year. So what that would mean is, again, $24.7 million, almost 24.8. If we awarded all of that, including the waivers, which is, it's probably not likely that we would award every dollar of it. We do have a few projects out there that we think may not be eligible for funding. But let's say that we did put out all of that money. That would leave just a little bit over $3 million remaining for fiscal year 2027. The second option would be essentially to keep to the recommended amount of funding. When we came out with our guidelines, we established how much each community was eligible for. We had limits on how much money went to workforce and to regional planning and so on and so forth. And when you add up all those numbers, we were expecting to put out about $19.2 million for fiscal year 2026. So if we only did that amount, essentially that would mean really just not doing waivers, or only doing waivers if there was some, if some projects had been eliminated and we could increase a couple of projects. That would leave about $8.6 million for fiscal year 2027. And then we gave a third option. What we're saying is if you wanted to try to extend the money out even further, you could theoretically award less than the 19 million that we had proposed awarding. And that would, again, stretch the money out. It would depend what level you'd want to do that. The example I threw in here was saying if we only awarded $14 million, there'd be roughly $14 million left for the following year. So I think really at this point, and that option would actually probably create some fair difficulties for the current fiscal year. We would have to go back to each of our communities and saying, we're not going to be giving you the full amount that we said we were going to be giving you. It'll be some reduced amount, and would need to get priorities from all those communities. Given that fact and where we are on May 5th, it would seem unlikely that we would be able to complete all of that before the June 30th deadline that we set for ourselves. And again, that June 30th, it's not a magic number. We just, it's not in the legislation anywhere. It's only a date that we set for ourselves by saying, let's try to get all of these things awarded by the end of the fiscal year. So those are the three options. Just one other thing to think about is that, if we are going to grant waivers for anything out in the Western region, all of the available monies right now are from the East, from Region A. And any additional monies that we move to Region B, we would have to make that transfer. Not saying that we can't do it. It's just that historically we tried to keep the money generated in Region A, and the money generated in Region B in Region B. For the current fiscal year, we did transfer $4.3 million over to Region B, but any amounts over that would require an additional transfer of money to Region B. So just something to think about. So at this point, I'm not asking the commission for a vote, but I think we'd like to get some guidance on where you think you'd like to go with this, if one of those options is preferable to another, or we're in kind of uncharted territory here. So I think, we're really just looking for some guidance at this point.
Thank you, Chief Delaney. I'd like to go first on this one quickly. I want to first say that I know that the governor and the legislature have a really, really difficult time when they make these decisions, and we appreciate the weight in those decisions. This fund is important. It helps a lot of locals, a lot of municipals. I'm going to kick it over to Brad in just a second because he's sat on this with you the longest, Joe. But my preference would be to treat every application like we would always treat it, with the same way we would treat it before. I've been on the record now 3 different fiscal years saying I believe we should get as much money out the door as we should. I've been saying that for years because I think the money does good. And so as far as the Region A and Region B, I treat it a little bit as, I understand the preference, but at the same time, we should look at every application on the merits. This is a unique year, the second year in a row, a unique year. And if we need to move the money about, we can do that. And we're allowed to do that, as you pointed out. And I would be inclusive of the waivers. If there's a good project that we can put money towards, let's weigh the waivers. So I would just say, let's get as much money out the door as we possibly can. Let's be fair and look at everything as we can. And I'm going to kick it over to Commissioner Hill, and I'm going to turn off my mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be very brief as I already gave some of my comments a week ago. So, Joe, if you're looking for guidance, I would look to number 1, and I would spend down as much of the budget as possible. I think we should also include looking at the $5.5 million in waivers. And in terms of monies going from A to B, we had to do that last year, and I have no reason to not look at sending monies from A to B again this year. I want to spend down as much as we possibly can. And I said this, a week or 2 ago, I think the writing's on the wall in regards to the way the legislature and the administration is looking at this program, absent any changes from them in Mass General Law. I think that this is a program that's, day may have come. So with that in mind, I think my option would be to look at number 1 moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Broder, I see your mute's off.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This will be a long-winded ditto, I suppose. I want to start off with having had the ability to dive in a little bit further. I do want to compliment the staff on the incredible diligence they put into the vetting of each and every grant proposal that comes before us. For folks out there in the cities and towns that I know live or die by a lot of these grant programs, I can assure them that every request is taken very seriously. This is, as you said, Mr. Chairman, at our last meeting, it's all about community quality of life and how we can support the communities that are dealing with the introduction of casinos into their communities and the surrounding area. My sense of the projects that I've seen is that they're tremendous. I'm not suggesting we necessarily do all of them, but there is a lot of merit out there. And as is the case with a lot of government programs, there is more desire, there is more need than there is capacity. And therefore, again, to echo what my fellow commissioners that's previously spoke have said, I'm very much in favor of option 1. Again, not to suggest we don't do our due diligence, but I can, again, I can assure the public and the communities that absolutely is happening. I know how much this money makes a difference in the administration and quality of the community and quality of life they're in. So I hope we are, I don't want to say aggressive, but I do think option one should be kind of our guidepost.
Thank you, Commissioner Broder. Commissioner Skinner?
Yeah, the show must go on. Because there may be a lack of availability of funding in future years, does not mean that there is not a current need for this money. And so I do think that it should be business as usual. Again, with application of the due diligence that Commissioner Broder talked about, we should, I am in favor of moving forward with option number one so that the communities get the very necessary financial assistance that they need from these funds. And I'm going to hope for the best for future budget cycles. That's all we can do at this point, recognizing that there are many competing interests, not just here in Massachusetts, but across the country. And so we are trying to be good fiscal stewards with the resources that we have. And we definitely want to make sure that we get this funding in the hands of the communities as it was designed to be.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, anything to add?
No, just I'm in agreement. It's, keep marching on. I'm not the optimist, but I'm going to say, as Commissioner Skinner said, maybe this continues on beyond the next couple of years. But the staff has always done due diligence in terms of making sure that the grants are meritorious. They're going to continue to do that. But I think we march on and continue to do the mandate that we have.
I was going to say,
That's option one.
I was going to say option one, and that everything should be granted on the merits, but Commissioner O'Brien said it for me. So there you go.
Okay, well, thank you, Commissioners. I'm exceptionally glad that it didn't wind up being 2-2-1 on the options. So that's always a good thing for guidance that we have unanimity. So I think just what we will do, and this is what we had started doing as we evaluated these, we will look at each project and determine its eligibility. And then, if a community is asking for a waiver on that, that will essentially be up to the commission to decide whether or not to grant those waivers. We'll put them in context, but I don't think as a review team, we particularly have an opinion on the waivers. We really only care whether or not the project is eligible. Obviously, if we come up with recommendations on a few projects that we believe are not eligible, we would hope that the commission would take that advice. But if something is eligible and there's a waiver request associated with it, that will then be up to the commission to say, yay or nay on the waiver request. I mean, we do have a couple of very large waiver requests that probably need a fair amount of context for you to understand where they are and what the communities are doing, which we will certainly do within our write-ups. But I think that'll then ultimately just be the responsibility of the commission to either approve or deny waivers based on really essentially eligibility.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Skinner.
Is the question of transferring funds from Region A to B on the table now? Because I didn't speak to that. I know you did and Commissioner Hill did. So if I need to, for purposes of Joe moving on, right? Because I didn't hear quorum as to direction there, but it might be because you weren't looking for one and you would bring back the question at a later date once we start reviewing those applications.
Well, I think I can address that a little bit. Oh, sorry.
Joe, if I can, I would interpret Commissioner Broder's ditto as a third voice on that also. I'm not great with interpretation, but I would take ditto to mean the entire piece. But that said, Commissioner Skinner, Commissioner O'Brien, if we want to be clear on it.
Yeah, I don't oppose. So I just want to make that clear to the extent that you needed another voice. I don't want to interpret Commissioner Broder's sentiment, but I would be in favor of transferring the necessary funds from Region A to Region B in order to review these applications in a way that is on the merits, as has already been discussed. And for the reason that we did it last year. So, I mean, I respect the fact that it hadn't been typically done prior to last year, or this fiscal year rather. But I think that to be consistent with, there's no reason to go backwards in my mind on that.
Okay, yeah, so just, as of right now, there are some fairly significant waivers in the Western region. So, monies definitely would need to be transferred from Region A to Region B. Again, if we went under that scenario where we approve all the waivers, there would definitely be monies needing to be transferred from Region A to Region B. And I think that's probably something that can simply be done with the votes. I mean, when you make the votes, you're doing that automatically, really. But we could probably, if we needed to put a separate motion on, we could certainly do that if we felt that was necessary.
Definitely hearing guidance, and Commissioner O'Brien, for the record, did put her thumb up too. So that was a 5-0 decision.
Okay.
So I think that's our guidance, Joe, and to say to you and your team and Commissioner Broder and Commissioner Hill, who sit on those committees, give us your best advice when we all meet as a group, and we'll look at everything on the merit.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you.
And good luck, Lily, again. I'm glad that we were able to have that time together. All right, commissioners, it's a short one today. Item number 7. Anybody have anything by way of commissioner updates? Any other business that we didn't anticipate? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Commissioner O'Brien.
It was like a fight to get in there. Aye.
Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
Commissioner Skinner.
Aye.
And Commissioner Broder.
Yes.
And I vote yes, 5-0. Everyone enjoy Monday, and go Celtics.
Amen.